Some God of War Ragnarok fans who purchased the game's expensive collector's edition were disappointed to discover that the game itself, which was supposed to be the main draw, was not included. Forbes was the first to break the story. What exactly was it that was missing? And what are the current outcomes of the lost edition? Are there any losses? Let's find out. To begin with, let's look at the expensive God of War edition's missing game. The $319.95 collector's edition of God of War Ragnarok is said to include the game as a digital download code, as well as a steelbook display case, various replica wooden toy carvings from the game, a dice set, and a 16-inch facsimile of Thor's trademark weapon, Mjolnir. Some buyers on the game's official subreddit have stated that their copy still needs to arrive with the game. Some received 2 bonus digital item tickets instead of one that included the game. Others received no codes. God of War Ragnarok is the sequel to God of War, Soft Reboot, which was developed by Santa Monica Studio and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment in 2018. The game has received near universal praise from critics, garnering a whopping 94 on review aggregator Metacritic. According to news.com.au's review, God of War Ragnarok is a far better game in every way imaginable than its predecessor from 2018. The PlayStation exclusive game arrives at a time when video game exclusivity is a hot topic, with Microsoft's $100 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard facing an in-depth investigation from European competition regulators as well as regulators worldwide. It also follows the loss of millions of subscribers to PlayStation Plus. That was after we saw the online subscription service split into 3 distinct tiers, with the highest tier missing some streaming options in Australia. The rework resulted in a 1.9 million user drop in subscriber numbers, which Sony described as a greater decline in user engagement among PlayStation 4 users than expected. Moving on, what are the top 9 Viking movies to watch when you're not playing God of War Ragnarok? First, The Northman. Before working on The Northman, director and co-writer Robert Eggers had received critical acclaim for 2 other films, The Witch, 2015, and The Lighthouse, 2019, which juxtaposed fantastical elements with credible historical backdrops. It's no surprise then that The Northman was eagerly awaited. Fortunately, the film does not disappoint. It delivers a rare kind of artfulness juxtaposed against desperate brutality, much of it set against truly breathtaking scenery. Sigurjón Sigurdsson, an Icelandic writer and frequent Björk collaborator, takes co-writing credit for a story heavily based on the legend of Amleth, a mythical Scandinavian character who directly inspired Shakespeare's Hamlet. The Northman underperformed at the box office despite critical acclaim, but don't let that stop you from immersing yourself in this well-realized and surprisingly nuanced work. At number 2, Valhalla Rising. Valhalla Rising, a joint English-Danish project, is one of those films that, despite initially slipping under most people's radar, has steadily and deservedly built up something of a cult following. Mads Mikkelsen gives an outstanding performance as One-Eye, a Norse warrior who joins a band of Christian crusaders in search of the Holy Land, only to find himself stranded in an unknown country besieged by both mortal and otherworldly forces. There's a lot to like in this film, which is as ferocious as uncannily beautiful. Not least, Martin Stevenson's moving performance as the boy. Nicholas Winding Refn directs, bringing his usual sense of visceral kinetics, stylish angles, and simmering ambience to the project. 2 years after Valhalla Rising, Refn received both a Cannes Film Festival award and a BAFTA nomination for Drive. Next, The Vikings. The Vikings, 1958, is regarded as one of the great historical epics of the golden age of Hollywood, with Ben-Hur, 1959, Spartacus, 1960, and El Cid, 1961. This film has an impressive pedigree. Richard Fleischer directed several more classics, including 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954, and the acclaimed science fiction film Soylent Green, 1973. The filmmaker has a bevy of heavyweight talents for the Vikings. Kirk Douglas plays Viking Prince Einar, who is pitted against his on-screen half-brother Eric, Tony Curtis, in a complicated tale of rights and genealogy. Ernest Borgnine as King Ragnar is unforgettable, and Janet Leigh sparkles as Morgana. The Vikings is still a thrilling watch after more than 50 years. The fight sequences are thrilling and visceral, with many memorable moments, such as the Viking axe climb and the last dramatic duel. Moving on, The 13th Warrior. This 1999 film has a lot to offer, not least the intriguing and imaginative plot, which follows Ahmad ibn Fadlan, played by Antonio Banderas, a poet in the service of the Caliph of Baghdad. Fadlan becomes entangled in the problems of the Norsemen, whose realm is under attack by an old evil. Fadlan's transformation from mocked outlander to a respected companion is realistic and entertaining. Banderas brings a lot of charisma to the role of his character, who gradually wins the Norsemen's approval marvel with his intelligence, courage, and horsemanship. Diane Venora, Vladimir Kulich, and Omar Sharif provide outstanding assistance. The screenplay is based on Michael Crichton's 1976 novel Eaters of the Dead, which is based on the Old English poem Beowulf and first-hand accounts of the real-life Fadlan, a 10th century traveler and chronicler. Director John McTiernan knows a thing or two about action films, directing both the original Predator, 1987, and Die Hard, 1988. It shows in the film's exhilarating fight sequences, which are both inventive and bruising. Following that, How to Train Your Dragon, DreamWorks' charming 2010 family film, owes much to the strength of its source material, the books of British children's author Cressida Cowell, whose series of novels set in a mythical Viking world follow the adventures of Hiccup, a would-be dragon slayer whose views are radically altered when he captures and trains his dragon, Toothless. The aesthetics are as fantastic as you'd expect from the team behind Shrek, 2001, and Kung Fu Panda, 2008, but the story and characters really stand out. Hiccup's emotional journey toward discovering the true nature of himself and the dragons is genuinely gripping. The picture doesn't shy away from actual trauma, albeit with a fittingly optimistic finale that will leave kids and adults with a warm glow. This film stars Jay Baruchel, Craig Ferguson, America Ferrera, and Gerard Butler, and it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Next up, Eric the Viking. The Norwegian historical comedy television series Norsemen demonstrates that combining Vikings and humor may result in a great mixture. In 1989, you may find a forerunner in this tremendously entertaining romp written and directed by former Monty Python star Terry Jones. The plot follows the titular Viking and his motley crew as they attempt to reach Asgard, the home of the gods, to petition the celestial deities to end Ragnarok, the end times, and restore the sun to the sky. Viewers will have a lot of fun playing Find the Star. There are numerous options available. Jones, along with Tim Robbins as Eric, Mickey Rooney, Eartha Kitt, Imogen Stubbs, fellow Python John Cleese, Tim McInerney, Jim Broadbent, and Neil Innes, shines as King Arnulf. The film is visually appealing, shot through with a delightfully Python-esque sense of the absurd. Moving on, Beowulf. Beowulf, 2007, the second animated picture on this list, and the second to draw inspiration from the Old English tale of the same name, hits just the right balance between the atmospheric weight and riveting adventure, despite being saturated with star power. Roger Avery, Pulp Fiction, and Neil Gaiman share writing credentials. Several of their works have previously been adapted for the cinema, most notably Stardust, 2007, and the new Netflix series The Sandman. Beowulf is directed by Robert Zemeckis, who also helmed the Back to the Future trilogy and has worked with animation on numerous occasions. Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Polar Express. Ray Winstone, Anthony Hopkins, John Malkovich, Crispin Glover, and Angelina Jolie deliver excellent performances. Beowulf employs live-action motion capture methods, giving the animated characters a commanding presence. Beowulf is absolutely stunning and well worth your time. Following that, The Long Ships. We're back in 1964 for another timeless classic and international collaboration, this time from England and Yugoslavia. The plot of The Long Ships is loosely based on the Swedish author Franz G. Bengtsson's novel of the same name. It revolves around a legendary golden bell, the mother of voices, and the Moorish king Ali Mansa, who is desperate to possess it. Enter shipwrecked Viking Rolf, who claims to know the location of the mythical bell. Jack Cardiff directs a convoluted yet entertaining plot involving kidnapped princesses, stolen longships, unexpected revelations, and an epic quest in search of the mother. The director, whose career spans several decades, is now remembered for his highly influential cinematography in many celebrated films, including A Matter of Life and Death, 1946, The African Queen, 1951, and The Red Shoes, 1951. Finally, The Last Viking. We conclude with a short but powerful modern film. The Last Viking, released in 2016, is a highly atmospheric, intimate drama starring Philip Stevens, who also directs, as Harald Hardrada, a renowned 11th century Norwegian king whose exploits have inspired numerous works. Hardrada's first battle was at the age of 15, and his last, infamously, was at Stamford Bridge in 1066, when English King Harold Godwinson and his forces ambushed and slaughtered the Norsemen. Hardrada's death is frequently seen as the end of the Viking Age. The Last Viking focuses on Hardrada's dying moments as the king, mortally injured, tells his story at the request of a mysterious one-eyed visitor, the Norse god Odin, played by David Clayton. Stevens deservedly received critical acclaim for this moving work, which rests a lot from a modest premise. The constrained, intimate setting of the picture, along with its great lyrical language, allows the viewer's imagination to completely interact with the material in a manner that few films can. What are your thoughts on our video? Please let us know in the comments section. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.